Okay, so for this one, we're going to graph a system of equations. And this time you're going to have more than one equation. So I like to highlight the equations. So I'm going to do this for equation 1. And then I'm going to do it again. So this one is equation 1. So I just pick this. I picked a color. And that's what it says, is to pick a color. So I just picked the highlighter. I just picked green. And then what happens, we got to go through. So you've got the y-intercept of this ends up being -8. Okay. And remember, our slope is that coefficient of x, so that's +4/3. We're going to leave it as a fraction. And then this inequality is greater than, there's no line, so our line is going to be dotted. I'm just going to write dotted because it's easier to write dotted lines. And then it's greater than, so it's going to be shaded above. Okay, so I'm going to go through and we're going to go through and we're going to graph that very first line. So on the y-intercept, I'm at -8. And then I'm going to go up 4. So that means up 4 and to the right 3. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, and to the right 3. 1, 2, 3. Up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and to the right 3. 1, 2, 3. And I've got that line. I'm going to follow the pattern again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then to the right 3. 1, 2, 3. And I've pretty much ran out of room. So, and we're pretty much filled out, and now I've done a dotted line. So I'm going to have a dotted line, and I'm just connecting kind of my points, connecting that. That's it. And then it says I'm going to go through and I'm going to shade above that. So this was all step 1. So we're going to shade everything above that line. And so I'm just going to take my green highlighter and I'm going to shade everything above that line. So now the next one is, now I picked a different color, and it doesn't matter what color you pick. And this time that's going to be for my second equation. And so my second equation, and we're going to go through and do the same process, except now, so I've got my y-intercept is going to be 5, because that's the number without the x. And then my slope is -2. Well, when it's a whole number, remember that you always have to make it into a fraction. So -2/1. And now this has a line under your inequality. You have a line under your inequality, so that's going to be a solid line, and it's going to be less than, so we're going to shade below. So I'm going to be on my y-axis. I'm going to graph that point at 5, because that's my y-intercept. And it's -2, so I'm going to go down 2 and to the right 1. So I'm going to go 1, 2, and to the right 1. 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 And I'm just going to follow this pattern. Down 2 to the right 1. Down 2 to the right 1. And I'm just keep following that pattern until I get kind of like to the end of my graph. So see, I can still go more, so I'm going to go up 2 and to the right 1. Up 2 to the right 1. And now I'm pretty much off of my little chart, so I can't do it. I'm going to have a nice solid line, so I'm going to connect all of my dots. And I'm going to draw that solid line. So now that we have this solid line, now we're going to have to graph below that line. And so notice that when I graphed above, I did vertical lines. This time I like to do horizontal. It's just kind of helpful to see. And now what happens is, so now that part, now I've graphed that second, so now I'm already down here to step 4. I've graphed that inequality. Now what happens, that double shaded area is the solution. So I kind of like to go through and I just re-highlight. This is not necessary, but it's nice to actually see what the part that is actually the solution is, that double highlighted solution. So that double highlight, and then that's kind of step 5, that double highlight solution. Okay, let's do the next one. This time, these are a little bit different. This is going to be a little bit harder. So this time you're still going to go through and you're going to figure these out. So we're still going to have to pick a color. I'm just picking the color green for my first one. So I have y is greater than or equal to 5, or greater than 5 minus 2/5 x. So again, my y-intercept is the one without the x, so that's 5. My slope is negative 2/5. And then my line does not, my inequality does not have a line underneath it, so it's going to be a dotted line, and it's greater, so that one's above. So now my next one, and let's go ahead and graph that. So my y-intercept is going to be 5. And then my slope, that means I'm going to go down 2 to the right 5. Down 2 to the right 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Down 2 to the right 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm kind of off the chart. So now I'm going to go to the other side. Up 2, because the opposite of down is up 2, and the opposite of right is left. So I'm going to move to the left 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm going to go up 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now I'm going to have a dotted line. So I just like to fill in a little bit more dots in between make a little more dashed marks. And then you're going to shade everything above that line. So I'm going to shade everything above that line. So I've got that. Now my second one is, now this one's special because it's x is less than 1. So when x is less than 1, remember when those are special, determine the following y-intercept. If it's an x equation, it's none. Okay? And then the slope is undefined because it's an x. And so basically, my y-intercept is my line is still going to be dotted because there's no line under it. There's no y-intercept. And then my shading, because this is going to be a vertical line. X is less than 1. That's a vertical line. There is no y-intercept. So no matter what x is, it will always be negative 1. And I'm going to have a dotted line at negative 1. And so the part where we shade is going to be, this one is going to be to the left. We're going to shade to the left because that inequality, it's like an arrow. It's like an arrow pointing to the left. So that's why I know to shade to the left. So now I'm going to shade everything to the left of my dotted line. And then again, that double shaded area is just, I just like to fill it in so you can kind of see a little bit easier. So remember, that's the first one. So that's when you're going to have an X. So that's your double shaded area. Okay, so for the next one is you're going to have this one. So again, you're going to pick your intercepts. You're going to pick your colors. So this top one is y is greater than 2. So I pick that color. It's going to be green. Y is greater than 2. My y, this is like saying y is greater than 2 plus 0x. So my y-intercept is 2. My slope is 0. And then my line, there's no line under it, so it's going to be a dotted line, and it's greater than, so I'm going to shade above because it's a greater than symbol. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. I've got my y-intercept is at 2. This means I'm going to move up 1 and over. So, and I'm just going to keep on going. I'm just going to move. I'm moving to the right just 1 because my flatlined. It's a 0 slope. And so remember, when you have a 0 slope, it's flatlined. So following this, instead of moving to the right, I'm going to move to the left. And again, this is going to be a dotted line. I just think I'm going to leave it like that. That's a pretty good little dotted line. And then I'm going to shade everything above that. So everything is going to be shaded above that. So the next one is going to be the orange. I'm just picking orange, a different color. So you've got y is less than or equal to negative 3x plus 10. So again, your y-intercept is going to be 10. Slope is negative 3. Remember to make that negative 3 over 1. You make it into a fraction. So that means I'm going to go down 3, and to the right 1. And then my line is going to be a nice solid line because there's a line under your inequality. And then you're going to shade below. And my reason why I'm going to shade below is because that is less than or equal to. So I have my y-intercept is at 10. And then from your y-intercept, I've graphed my y-intercept. I'm going to go down 3. 1, 2, 3 to the right 1. Down 3. 1, 2, 3 to the right 1. Down 3. 1, 2, 3 to the right 1. 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 And now I'm kind of off my chart, and I'm going to connect my line. So I'm going to draw it as straight as I possibly can, connecting my points. And now this one, I've got to shade everything below this line. So below the line means over here on my left. So everything below that line. And now we look at this and we look and we go, oh, I like to do the double shaded area. So then I just like to kind of fill that in. So this double shaded area. And then we just kind of color that in. All right, and then that's for that first part. So this is when these are y equals equations. So your first part of your equation is when they're going to be y equals, or they're going to be those special cases where you have the horizontal or vertical lines. So both of them are going to be in y-intercept form, or they're going to be one of them's the horizontal or vertical line, or both.